throughout our lives, we're going to constantly be faced with things that we want to accomplish, things that we want to attain, things that we want to obtain. The question is, how bad do you want it? What are you willing to do? The other day after judo, I was watching as some of the judoka were staying late to put in some extra work for a tournament that they had coming up. Coach was talking to them, and he was working on some defenses for choking. I guess someone was having some kind of issues with that feeling that you get when someone's really closing in on that choke and you're feeling really nervous, maybe even panicked. And he was going over some ways to try to prevent that from happening. Not the feeling, but maybe the feeling. But I hear him say to them, you have to want to hand fight more than they want to choke you. More than they want to choke you. Doesn't matter how much you want to hand fight. Doesn't matter how much you want to do. It has to be more than what they want if you're going to stop what they're trying to do to you. And this struck me because this is something that I've heard before, something Ian Abernethy said that I really liked, that really hit home the first time I heard it, which was this idea of every time we are faced with a decision, when we want something, when we want to accomplish something, we want to obtain something, when we want to be able to do something, we have to ask ourselves, how much more do I want to be able to do it? Every time one of those situations comes around, there is something else that exists that's in the way of what we want. If I want to lose weight, then my love of certain foods or certain habits can be in the way. And so I have to ask myself, which do I want more? Do I want to lose weight, or do I want to enjoy those foods that I love or those habits that I enjoy? Do I want that? Which do I want more? It's your choice. What you want to accomplish, what you want to have, it's your choice. And it's based on that choice what result you'll get. So if you would rather have the enjoyment of whatever it is, that snack food that you like or the habits that you have, rather than losing weight, then that's what you're going to get. That's the result that you're going to get. And that's fine. It's your choice. You get to choose that. But if you want to lose weight, then you have to want to lose weight more than you want to have that special snack or to give in to that habit that you have. You have to want it more. You have to prioritize it. You potentially have to say to yourself, this is what Ian Abernethy said, which I really liked, which is you have to say to yourself, I want to lose weight more than I want an extra helping of dinner. That's a paraphrase. I don't remember exactly what he said. It was the concept that stuck with me. And this is in anything. Losing weight is one thing. Being able to be the best, I have to want to train more, to train harder, to put in more effort than the person who's in first place or the person who's going to be in first place. I have to, if I don't want to be in second place or I don't want to be in third place, I have to put in more effort. I have to want it more than the person who's going to be in that spot because they have to want it more than me. Then, as in anything competitive, it comes down to we don't exactly know one versus the other, right? We don't know exactly how it's going to go, but we have to want it. We have to want to achieve it. And this also sits at the core of our life. If I want the job that I want, the house that I want, the car that I want, whatever it is that I want, I have to want that more than the effort it's going to take to get it. I have to, whatever's going to stop me, whatever's going to be in my way. If I want that better position in my job, I have to want to study or train or create the right relationships or whatever it is to get that position. I have to want that more than the part of me that doesn't want it. And I think that's maybe the root for me, is most of the times the things that I want, in Coach's example, he was saying you have to want it more than they want to choke you. They want something, you have to want your thing more. But very often for me, I need to want something more than my own self wants something else. I'm not competing with someone else. I'm competing with me. I'm making decisions about me, about my life, about the things that I want. And I have to want one result more than another. I have to want to put in this much work rather than this thing that I could do. I have to want that. And in my life, and I've faced this many times, and I encourage people constantly because I think it's so important, you have to want the relationships with people to be the way you want them to be, you have to want that more than you have to, you have to want that relationship with that person more than you want to avoid the conflict or the difficulty that you'll go through to get there. We constantly run into these situations where we've got someone in our life and maybe we're having a fight. Maybe we are not seeing eye to eye. Maybe somebody's upset me or whatever. Maybe I've upset them. Maybe we're just not hitting. And this happens in our personal relationships, our spouses and significant others. It happens in our friendships. It happens in our work relationships or on the mat with other people that we train with, or in general all the time. I have to want that relationship to be a good, healthy relationship more than I want to avoid the conflict that it's going to take processing. To be able to have that good relationship, we got to work through the stuff that's not working. We've got to go through the stuff that's not working. We have to go through the difficult things, the challenges. We have to be willing to express. I have to be willing to express the truth, how I feel, the things that are bothering me, the things that maybe I'm doing wrong. I have to be willing to face those, because what I want more than any of that discomfort is I want that relationship to be strong. Let's talk about some personal examples from my life, some things that I've had to go through to maybe give some perspective on what I'm talking about. For me, I've had this in every category, in my work life, in my personal life, in the dojo, all of these places I've ran into this. Everything as simple as my relationship with my wife. There were times in our relationship where we struggled, especially early on when the relationship was new enough that it could have been easy to just, either one of us to just kind of walk away from that. There were times when we had to face things that we didn't feel like we understood each other. We didn't feel like we could communicate with each other. Maybe we didn't trust each other. Maybe we didn't, whatever it was. And honestly, as time goes on, you lose sight of that. But the important thing for me is I remember sitting out on our front step for 2 hours. My wife was upset. She wasn't my wife at that time. It was early into our dating, really early into our dating. We weren't even necessarily exclusive to each other yet. 2 hours. She didn't want to talk to me. She was upset. She was crying. She had things going on that she didn't know how to express to me. And I didn't know how to get there with her. But I knew that I wanted that relationship to succeed. So I sat. I was there. I waited. Because I wanted more to get through this with her than I wanted to leave or go do something else or get angry or upset. I just wanted to give her time so that we could get to the point where we could talk. And I just waited while she worked through what she needed to work through to be able to start opening up and talking to me. And then we talked, and then we had a wonderful talk. And we're together so many years later. And I owe a lot of that to these times where we ran into problems and we both wanted it to work more than we wanted to get away from the difficulties of relationships. It's so much easier to go just start over, go do something else, go meet someone else, go do whatever you want. It's so much easier than it is to put in the work. But we wanted the relationship to work more than we wanted anything else. In my work life, I ran into the same thing. My job, it's a difficult job. It's like many jobs, but the difficulty for me was there was a personality conflict with me and the boss, the owner of the company. It was a small company. When I started, there were only 3 of us, got up to maybe six or seven. But we butted heads so much. Maybe I'm just strong-willed. Maybe I had what I wanted to see happening for this company, and I was allowed to be close enough to this company that I wanted to see certain things come from it. But we didn't always see eye to eye on how we needed to go about doing it, or what was worth spending money on, or how we invested what we were doing to grow the company. And I have struggled. I can't tell you the number of times that I have almost left this job that I have questioned my sanity for continuing to go, that I have fought with the idea of, why am I still doing this? Why am I still here? Maybe I could go get another job. I thought through other jobs I could go to. I thought through all this stuff. I didn't apply for anywhere. I didn't go that far because I wanted this to work. I loved this company. I loved its mission. I loved what it was trying to do. We just had these hurdles that I could not get past. So we stuck it out. Had long night conversations where we'd stay after work and we'd talk for a few hours, or we worked through it. We worked on it. We communicated our struggles, the things that we had trouble with each other, the things that were working, things that weren't working. We established plans, things that we could do to push it forward. And we did. And August of last year, my wife and I bought the company, and now I own it. I get to make all those decisions. There were so many opportunities that I could have left. And I could have gone somewhere, done something else, signed up to be underneath somebody else, another owner, be an employee at another place. But I loved this company, and I wanted to go there. I wanted to be able to make it work, and I wanted to see it succeed. I wanted to see it succeed so much that I hoped that one day I could be a part of this in a big way. And we eventually had that conversation. And that conversation eventually led to the conversation of, are you ready to buy it? I think I want to do something different, and I want you to take over. So I took over. So now I have the job that I've always wanted. In the dojo, there have been many things, not the least of which has been our space. In the space that we're in, we moved in right after COVID. We lost our place. The club that we were in, the gym, closed down. We lost our training area. We were training from home, as everyone was with COVID, all this stuff. And one of the members said, hey, there's this funky little spot. And it was this tiny area. It was so small. We could barely fit everybody into it. And it was everything. It was our space, our storage, our front desk, our everything. And we were trying to make it work. In fact, we had members that we didn't lose members. We had members that never signed up because they were like, I don't feel comfortable with how small this is. But it was a good spot, and it was something we could make happen. And I developed a good relationship with the landlord, and I talked to him. I said, I don't know that this will work forever, but this is good for now. But if anything were to change, it was a long building with a couple different spots in it. And I said, if anything were to change with some of these other spots that are bigger, or if something else were to happen, would you talk to me? Talk to me first. So I went and I put in the effort to say, let's open this communication and go with our dream. So it just so happened to be the place next to us, which was a fair bit bigger. That guy was moving out. He was taking his operation. He was a screen printer. He was taking it home. He didn't need a place, but he liked having somewhere else to go rather than being there working out of his own home. But later he decided, it's better if I just do it out of my house. So we moved out. Landlord comes to me and says, hey, just so you know, I haven't put any word out, but this guy's thinking about leaving. What do you think? I said, yeah, let's do it. Just so happened there were doors connecting the two places, so we could turn our tiny spot into the lobby and then have a place that's just training space. But the big thing was next to that. This made it better, but certainly not perfect. It certainly couldn't grow to where I wanted to see it grow. I knew where I wanted this dojo to go, but I knew it couldn't grow there without more space, more ways to do these things. And there was a climbing gym next to us that would double the amount of space. And they ended up closing too. They were going through some ownership change. They ended up deciding not to renew the lease. They decided to leave. Landlord comes to me and says, what do you think? Only this time I struggled because we couldn't afford it. It was a lot more expensive. We were taking on this entire building. It used to be this big one warehouse that got kind of broken up. We didn't have enough people signed up. Our membership rates, we've tried to keep it low so that people could train without it being super expensive, because I've never wanted money to be a reason why somebody doesn't train, but we couldn't afford it. But I knew that place, the climbing gym, had been there 30 years. When someone else moves in, how long are they going to be there? If somebody else takes this spot, how long before this becomes available again? This is what we need to grow. This is where we need to hit the goals that we want to hit. This is what I need to see this become what I've always wanted it to be. But we can't afford it. So I talked to my wife and we looked at the landlord and we said yes. It was a struggle because we could just barely be able to cover the first month's rent, the deposit, this kind of stuff, just barely. And we knew that it was going to be difficult with everything else, difficult to keep this place. We sat down with the team and we said, here's the deal. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going. I hope that you can believe in this vision where we're trying to go, but we're going to need to work on this. We're going to need to talk to people, get more people coming in. We're going to need to do this or that. We might have to hold some seminars or do something to try to bring some money in to make sure that we can afford to do this, because now is the time. This is the time, but it's going to stretch us. So in that moment, what I chose is I chose my dream over the safety and security of what I knew I could do. And sometimes that choice is that you have to want the thing that you want more than the safety and the security of not going after it. Every week, I could want to play video games or watch movies or do whatever, anything, rather than make this video. But I want to do this. It means something to me. Hell, making these videos, it would be really easy for me to say, I would rather not have to put myself out there in front of anybody or let anybody see any of this. But what I wanted more was to share myself and leave a record of myself for the people who've trained with me and maybe make some new friends. And I wanted that more than I wanted to avoid the discomfort and the challenge of having to look at myself every week, to have to hear myself every week, my own voice, my own face, my own everything, to hate everything that I do, to hate everything that I put together and go, it could be so much better. Why this? Why would anybody want to watch this? But I wanted to achieve this more than I wanted to let that hold me back. So I'm really fortunate. I've got a great wife. I get to run the company that I've wanted to work for, this IT company. I get to run that. I get to make the choices. I get a great team. I get to help build lives for the people who work for me there. I've got a great dojo. It's big. It's got multiple teachers. I've got people that I can provide jobs for young people. I can help with a leadership program. We can establish leadership programs for kids, and we're trying to work on expanding that out for people in need. We can do so much. I get to meet all of you. I get to hear from you sometimes in the comments what you think or how this impacts you. I get to have all of this. And I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. I count myself lucky. But I know that part of it has been how bad I've wanted it. I've wanted these things. There have been easier options. There have been other choices. But I wanted these choices. I wanted this. So the things that I have are because of this. This idea. You have to want to hand fight more than they want to choke you. Pretty powerful words. So just remember, it's a choice. It's not always easy. And sometimes making that choice requires looking out into the future and seeing the immediate result and the medium result and then the long-term result and where those go, where those get you, and where that can take you. And if it's where you want to be, sometimes we have to work on these things here so that we can start doing these things here so that we can achieve this out here. That's what has to happen. And so we have to be willing to look forward, make those assessments, constantly make reassessments, and then we have to want that thing more than what it's going to take to get it.